From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson. And you're probably wondering what's with the empty chair over here. We're going to be getting Hector back in the studio after many weeks and months of inactivity. So in the meantime, we want to let you know that we're very happy that you could join us and that Kenny Graham is on the other side of the glass. Actually, he's kind of sort of double dipping right now. And in case you're wondering what just happened right there, that was actually Hector trying to sneak into the studio, and he accidentally crashed into the camera.
That's because these cameras are misplaced as usual, but that's okay, because I'm just trying to lighten the mood every day. Because my name is Hector Bosa, the hottest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV, and all I can do is tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I can do, whether it's PC or not. We have become so politically correct in this world. I was talking to Jaime about the book that Ron Darling wrote. Now this is going to be the talk of the town. That he said racial slurs to oil can Boyd. You know, Lenny Dykstra has not been the most brainiac guy in the world.
Let's face facts. The guy is just bad news.
But
I mean, he's committed fraud. He's committed spousal battery, and now this, as if he hasn't caused enough trouble already. Now this thing comes up.
Doc Gooden has backed him up a little bit on it, saying he was with him for a year. He never said anything like that in front of him. So he does got, he's got black friends. Now, does that help you if you have black friends? Who knows? That's the whole point, But, again, that becomes too politically correct because Lenny Dykstra has been known to do steroids too, and we know so far that steroids does destroy sometimes your mind and your body.
It destroys the mind. It destroys the muscles. It destroys a lot of the major organs of the body, and we've seen and heard about quite a few stars that wound up dying of cancer, which wound up being caused by steroid abuse. One of which was Lyle Alzado many years ago.
Exactly, and that's when he was trying to make a comeback.
Yeah,
that's when he was trying to make a true comeback. Why? Because he didn't have any money. And what did the NFL do finally? They're trying to protect the old. They're old football players. The older football players that came before them, they're finally now giving them a pension or something. They're finally doing something more than the article I showed you about WWE, even though NEW is doing it better now when it comes to health care, because we're all having a problem with health care now that Obamacare has been deregulated because of its unfairness and unconstitutional. But the point is that people are not getting the proper health care, whether we're paying for it or not, and it's a measly buck something. It doesn't cost us that much. But figuring it all, Odell Beckham Jr. showing his jersey number 13.
Yeah, he had his meeting with the media in Cleveland today, and he talked about how shocked he was when he first heard about the trade. But now, something tells me he might be in a better place playing for the Browns than with the Giants.
Because there's nothing to do out there.
A lot, considering that the Browns were the single biggest laughingstock in all of professional sports.
Considering that they had the number one draft choices for a very long time, and some of them were busts. Or some of them are
the majority of them were busts. The only two number one draft picks that have panned out for them have been Myles Garrett and, until he got traded, Jabril Peppers. Now Myles Garrett is the guy now.
Now here's the thing: how do you see the Cleveland Browns right now as a football team?
Suddenly a playoff contender
because of him,
because of Beckham, and it's not. We really shouldn't have to make him the sole reason why they're going to be a contender. I mean, keep in mind, they also have
other
Baker Mayfield,
exactly,
who was a complete boss at quarterback last season. And there's also Jarvis Landry, who is going to be the other receiver that Beckham is going to be working with. That makes two dangerous receivers that Baker Mayfield is going to be working with this coming season. And there's also the matter of the running game, which is a lot more underrated than people give them credit for. And the defense, which was really rock solid last year. I mean, don't let the 7-9 record fool you. They came away with some really impressive victories last season. Keep in mind, they almost beat the Steelers at home. And they also came away with a big victory against the Ravens. They also beat the Jets for their first win of the year. It's gotten to the point where the Browns are not...
They're not a joke anymore.
They're not a joke anymore. They are to be taken very, very seriously.
Like the Chicago Cubs.
Just like the Chicago Cubs. And you add to that the fact that the AFC North Division has suddenly become very, very poor overall. The Steelers have gotten weaker. The Ravens are a team in transition now because they now have Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Now they need a running back to go with that. The Bengals are a team that needs to be in transition, but they're still living a lie that they think they can try and contend next season when they really can't. It's gotten to the point where they really need to start building from the ground up all over again.
But what makes them not be contenders? That's the point. What makes them not?
They're awful defensively.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, they're extremely average at quarterback. The guy, Andy Dalton, at one time was a pretty decent player, but his numbers have declined in the last 3 or 4 years now. Maybe it's time for the Bengals to start over again, not just at quarterback, but at receiver. Maybe try and make a deal for A.J. Green, who's really up there in years. He's played 9 years in the league now. And also see if they can send their quarterback someplace where he could really, really be used. Because now it's gotten to the point where the Bengals need to start from scratch.
We were speaking of the Browns before, and Duke Johnson asked Browns to trade him.
Yeah. Duke Johnson wound up getting traded by the Browns. Now it looks like they may either get someone else in the draft or in free agency or via trade. We still don't know what's going to happen with them yet. But at least they've got the passing game to get them to that next level. And I think when I say next level, I don't mean winning the NFL title. They're a long way off from winning an NFL title.
But wait a minute. But wait a minute.
They are close to being maybe a division championship contender.
But here's the thing. In your head, you keep on saying when it comes to the Knicks that your goal is to be the championship, not to be a playoff contender. Now you're saying
we
it's okay to be a playoff contender.
also have to look at reality
Exactly.
here.
Exactly.
The Browns are nowhere near winning a Super Bowl.
No,
they still
I'm
have holes to fill.
All I'm doing.
All I'm saying is they need to take some baby steps, which is either get a wild card or be a little bit more greedy and win the AFC North.
I understand, but I'm saying it. But if you say it for one, you got to say it for the other, not be the person and go, okay, I'm going to say it for this team, but you can't say it for this team. If you say it for one, you have to say it for all, because each team is rebuilding, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, whichever team is out there, they're rebuilding. Now, New York has a tendency to have a short attention span. Now that we got all these young guys, now we're willing to wait and see. Do we trade half the team to get AD and then hopefully get KD and Irving? Who knows? That's a possibility. Whether it is or doesn't matter until it happens. That's the only thing that I can see. But when it comes to football teams, they're supposed to play on equal grounds. They must have very bad GMs or something of that nature because they can't get over the hump.
What they had was horrendous management. It wasn't just the GMs. It was the directors of player personnel. It was the VPs of player personnel, or the presidents of player personnel, all the way up to the owner.
Now the Jets.
Nobody knew what they were doing.
Well, right now the Jets are doing well.
At least the Jets are trying to put together some semblance of a contender right now.
But here's the thing. Here's what we got so far. Right now we have the Jets going in a direction that people could understand. And you have the Giants going in a direction where people don't understand what's going on. So can you figure out what's going on with the Giants? What's
going on with the Giants? The fans are being lied to. That's what's going on with the Giants. Dave Gettleman made it clear he was not going to trade Odell Beckham. And what happened? He actually had the nerve to say that he was given an offer by the Browns that he could not refuse. You're going to tell me you can't do better than Jabril Peppers and 2 draft picks? You couldn't ask for Myles Garrett? And if they said no, that's one thing. But at least try me a little bit more greedy. What does it have to be one number 1 draft pick? Why can't it be 2 or 3? And why does it have to be 1 second or third round draft pick? Why can't it be 2 or 3? See, general managers that want to build contenders know exactly what they want. I don't think Dave Gettleman really knew exactly what he wanted.
I think that the Giants are going into a direction where you're going to see them lose purposely. And then hopefully the NFL will step in and go, what are you doing? Better than our previous counterparts, the New York Knicks, which the basketball team is finally going in the right direction. But again, basketball should have interfered and said, what are you doing? Like they did with baseball. I don't understand why they don't go in there and say, okay, what's going on? Why are you always a losing team? You're the biggest mecca of basketball, and you're the losingest team. But going back to football, has there been any trades besides the old Beckham Jr. trade that has surprised you?
Well, seeing Antonio Brown get traded to the Raiders for so much, that surprised me a little bit. Not the fact that he was traded; it was what he was traded for. I mean, the Raiders practically got him for a couple of footballs and a goalpost.
So they got enough for him.
Yeah,
they got enough for him. Then the old Beckham Jr. trade, which we got nothing. Again, I really would like to find out what happened there, because you have 3 heads of that Giants team. And one of them is saying that his granddaughter or his grandson won't talk to him anymore because he traded his favorite player. Now, they better have some type of goal. Where
John Mara said that he was very hesitant to sign off on a deal.
They have to have some type
This
of...
leads me to believe this was not John Mara's call. This was strictly Dave Gettleman's call. And Dave Gettleman made the single worst call of his existence as a general manager.
At this point in time, let's see what happens. Let's see how they rebuild. Let's see what type of lies, cockamamie lies and truths you're going to hear. Whether they're half-truths, whole truths, or nothing but the truth. So I hope you God, if I'm allowed to say that without being too politically correct, and that is, watch and see. That's all I can say. Just watch and see. The Rams are doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the Oakland Raiders are doing fine now.
Mm-hmm. The Raiders did get a little bit better.
Pittsburgh's not too hot right now, even though
Pittsburgh's gotten much worse offensively. I mean, they do have a pretty decent running back to take over for them, James Conner, a guy who was a tremendous story coming out of college. He actually suffered from cancer when he was at the University of Pittsburgh, wound up beating cancer, and went on to have a wonderful career at Pitt. Now wound up hooking up with the Steelers, and he had an outstanding rookie season. But is he going to be enough, or do the Steelers need to maybe expand on their depth at running back just to try and be interesting, not just contend, but be interesting next season.
Because,
And there's also
C.J. Adams also.
I
being
just found out
traded
C.J.
to-
Anderson signed with the Lions just
Yeah,
moments ago.
Exactly, and that's something else. Is that a big thing or is that a small trade? That's the thing you got to think about.
Well, let's face facts. Ever since Barry Sanders retired, the Lions have been desperate to look for a running back. He's not necessarily the number one answer, but he will give them a little bit of depth in the backfield.
Now, the one that I'm curious about is besides Kaepernick, who still hasn't gotten an offer yet.
Not even from the Alliance of American Football has he gotten an offer.
I heard that he was asking for too much money. That was
$20 million.
But the funny thing about it is the NFL must have gave him, this man, a boatload of money to keep his mouth shut. Because instead of him coming out and saying, this is what happened, this is why I have to keep my mouth shut, it's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. The almighty dollar won in this occasion. It's sad because he should have just stuck it out a little longer and said, you play me, and that's it. You pay me and play me. Not just pay me and go, okay, that's it. Because right now, he doesn't have a job. And people are always complaining about how we don't have jobs out there for people. Here's a man that's very qualified for a job. And because he's standing up for people, for injustice, for some people that think that he's doing things wrong, I say he's doing it right. You know what? That's just my opinion. Everybody got an opinion, like everybody got a-holes. Plain and simple English. If our president can say all that other crap, I can say a-hole. Anyway, like I said before, and that is, it's a shame that Kaepernick, they signed the other guy that took a knee down.
Yeah.
And that's funny. They won't sign they won't sign Kaepernick, but they found out that they'll sign the other guy.
We want to hear something really ironic. Colin Kaepernick is not the first person to either sit down or kneel during the national anthem.
There have been plenty of people.
In the NFL, you know who was the first, most recent? It was Beast Mode. None other than Marshawn Lynch. Going back to his days playing at California, he always sat on the bench during the national anthem. And very rarely did anyone make a peep about that. So now Colin Kaepernick sits on the bench and then takes a knee. And all of a sudden, he can't find a job. Whereas Beast Mode is still in the league, even though he's played for 10 years and is starting to show obvious signs of decline.
Wear and tear, yeah. Okay, fine. You can use him in short spots. Okay, fine. You can't use him in long spots anymore. But he still can do some damage. But the point I'm trying to make is, here we come a nation where we keep on saying there's no jobs, no jobs, no jobs. And here's a man that is qualified to do a job, perfect to do a damn job. He's worth the money to do the job, and nobody wants to give him the job because he's putting his knee down, and that's ridiculous, especially for what it stands for.
He's better at quarterback than half the teams or half the other quarterbacks that are in the league right now.
No.
Yet he's still out of work.
Now, most people...
It just goes to show you how much hypocrisy is going on in that sport.
In all sports. In all sports. And even in everyday life. Even here at CTV, there's so much hypocrisy going on. It's unbelievable. And I got proof to back it up. But my point is that here's a man that's trying to feed his family like everybody else. You don't want to hire an immigrant. Which is ridiculous to some sports. But anyway. Here's a man that can do the job. You don't want to hire him because he can put his knee down and because he can cause controversy. Wow. You know what, ladies and gentlemen?
And what controversy has he caused except exercising his First Amendment rights?
That's the problem. That's the controversy. That is the controversy.
Yet Kareem Hunt kicks a poor girl while she's down, and he's able to get a job with the Browns.
Half the people will agree that he's doing the right thing. The other half, he's doing the wrong thing. Are they still talking about it? Very little. Do you know why they're not talking about it as much as before? Because he got paid off. Like I said, he got a boatload of money from the NFL to keep his mouth shut. And that is the truth, and that's it. He must have got a boatload of money. Now, why can't he get, if people want to hire him so badly, why can't he analyst? He can't be an analyst. If you're not afraid of handling this guy, why can't you be an analyst? Or will that bring in controversy too, and then people won't buy the products and blah, 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 and then the whole thing starts all over again? It's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. But is there anything else going on in the NFL that we should know about?
Well, the draft is coming up at the end of this month.
Oh, yes, the great mock drafts. Oh, dear God,
all of these mock drafts telling these teams that they should draft this guy or that guy. And I think
what's the dumbest one? I sent you one for the basketball, not for football, but for basketball, I sent you one that who the Knicks should get.
Who should the fans want to see these superstar players play for? And I'm seeing where...
For the Knicks. I think it was just for the Knicks.
Yep.
And it was about 80 players to play for the New York Knicks. Zion Williamson was the first one. I'm telling you, Mitchell Robinson, Kevin Knox, and Zion Williamson in the backcourt.
On the front line.
The front line. Yeah, excuse me. Front line. That's a devastating young front court you have.
I'm going to tell you right now. After seeing Zion Williamson play in the NCAA tournament,
is he the real deal?
Convinced that not only is he the real deal.
How old is he?
He's only 19.
Oh, boy. Okay.
He has to be picked first overall. Whoever gets the first overall pick, they've got to get this kid.
And they're saying if the Knicks get him, that they'll trade him to get AD.
Which I think may be the single most incompetent thing that those two yes men that are working for the Knicks could ever do. And this also goes to show why, number one, Scott Perry has never produced one single playoff team when he's been with the Pistons and the Magic. And two, Steve Mills wouldn't know basketball from a bocce ball.
But right now they're doing a good job. The
only thing they're doing a good job of doing right now is losing.
Yeah, exactly, but their up and coming youngsters are doing well enough. Some are doing better than others. Some are doing worse than others.
At this rate, I just want the NBA season to end. That way, we don't have to hear about that sorry ass franchise until May.
Exactly. But my point is, there have been some improvements with some of the players. Not all of them have been bad. Okay. You want to mention one? The one that's always being mentioned now, Mitchell Robinson. Oh, is he doing that terrible now all of a sudden?
He's been mostly inconsistent on the court.
But remember, how old is he? Okay.
He's about 20 years of age.
Exactly.
Close to be turning 21.
Exactly. He wasn't supposed to be a superstar like Zion Williamson or something. No, he was supposed to. He's a regular guy that came up as the average, better than the average Joe, and he's doing well enough. That's a simple job. Kevin Knox, 19 years old, doing a decent job for being 19 years old. Will he get better? Depending upon what happens next year, who knows? Who knows where the bouncing ball will lie? But let's see if the Knicks will do the right thing or anybody else will do the right thing. Let's see where that ball lies, because if they don't get Zion Williamson, then who do they get?
Well,
A.J. Barrett.
The way things are going for them, they've got the worst record in the league right now.
Yes,
which means they have to be guaranteed a top 3 pick. So if they don't get Zion, John Morant, maybe, from Murray State. R.J. Barrett, Williamson's teammate at Duke.
A guard.
Maybe Trey Jones. Another one of Williamson's teammates over at Duke. Let me tell you right now, R.J. Barrett would be quite a find for somebody because this kid can ball. Trey Jones, great court vision, and he's fearless. But let me tell you, no one can go wrong with Zion Williamson.
If he doesn't get hurt.
That's another thing. He wound up getting hurt just before
His ankle, yeah.
He hurt his knee just before the ACC tournament.
Look at that.
Fortunately, he was able to return for the semifinals and the championship, and then he was bonkers during the NCAA tournament. All I saw him do was make one big shot after another. And this talk of him having a weak jump shot, I saw this kid making three-pointers, making mid-range jumpers. I saw him bring the ball up court like a point guard, and he is 260 pounds and maybe 6'7" or 6'8". The way this kid moves with and without the basketball, with all that quickness, is shocking.
You're
I
hoping.
never, ever saw a power forward ever do that 30 years ago,
Anthony Mason.
except maybe Anthony Mason.
Charles Barkley.
Maybe Charles Barkley.
I'm naming you names. Magic Johnson.
Well, Magic was more of a...
Magic Johnson played every position.
Well, he was more of a guy that played every position, including center.
He was the only man that played every position in one game. And did it just as fine as anybody else. It was just funny because I saw on Bleacher Report, too, that...
But let me put it this way. Anthony Mason never even attempted a three-point shot. Zion Williamson was maybe a 30% shooter from three-point range for Duke this year.
But again, we're talking like most people would say, we're talking apples and oranges because we're talking college and NBA.
I'm telling you, this kid is going to be a find. He's going to be a find for somebody.
You hope that the end is with the Knicks. And speaking of the end, what is happening with Kristaps Porzingis being charged with sexual harassment? Or
not sexual harassment, being charged with rape.
But yes, not assault.
Supposedly he raped this girl in a hotel room in Manhattan.
And they gave her they were supposed to give her $68,000 in hush money, but never did.
All I know is there is something extremely fishy going on with this case, and I would really like to know what is going on here because...
The Knicks never mentioned it?
No. They mentioned it to the Mavericks when they consummated the trade, yet the Mavericks decided to still go ahead with the deal.
Why not?
Because they wanted to team him up with Luka Doncic.
I'll put it to you this way. Man is proven. Man, let's be politically correct now. A man or woman is charged to be fair or not. Look at O.J. Simpson. As much as everybody's
That's a whole different animal,
wait a minute.
Man. That was murder.
But remember something though. He was cleared of everything, but because of public opinion, due process and due justice was done, and because of public opinion, all of a sudden now, he's the bad guy. He still did it just because public opinion. But I didn't know public opinion meant so much in my life right now. But again, with Kristaps Porzingis, it's the same way. Do you go by public opinion?
No,
or
we
do
should
you
go
go
by
by
what the
the
facts
law?
are.
The facts are, yeah, but even the facts, you know how some of these lawyers are. If you're rich and you get the best lawyer, they can get whatever. If you're a minority or poor, you're going to get not the best lawyer out there in the world. Now, I'm sure he's going to get the best lawyer in the world like O.J. Simpson and most of these other guys do, and to get off. But the problem is, how does he deal with the public opinion if he did it? And that's what you got to worry about more because, like we said, going back to Colin Kaepernick, public opinion says He does not work. If he works for our team or any TV, we will ban him. We will do so much. We will write to the companies and so forth. So what do you think of that?
I couldn't even begin to tell you with this. All I know is I want to know everything that happened with this case because Kristaps Porzingis does not seem like the type of guy that would commit such a heinous crime.
Here's the thing. It's not about seeing. It's not. What? Does that mean that I look like a serial killer? The point is, it's not about looks and so on. It's about, here's a perfect example of what I mean. You go into CVS or whatever, you're dressed like that. I come in with a suit and tie. Who do you think they're going to pay attention to more, you or me?
Obviously, they're going to pay attention to the person with the suit and tie.
No, they're going to pay attention to you because they're afraid that you're going to steal something.
Yeah, right.
No, it's the truth. You're dressed like that. I'm dressed with a suit and tie. It happened to Oprah. Happened to a lot of those people when they're not fully dressed and they're not. If you don't know them, that's it. It has happened.
Outrageous and obvious act of discrimination that anyone could ever commit.
But the problem is, it has happened, and it has happened to me. I can tell you flat out, it has happened to me on more than one occasion. But the point I'm trying to make is that we may not like our justice system sometimes, but this is what we have, and it's better than nothing. He's proven innocent until guilty until proven innocent, or is it the other way around?
It should be innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But in the military, it's the other way around. You're guilty first, and you have to be proven innocent, and so forth. So that I know for a fact. So this is what's going on, and what are we really going to know when he steps on the court? Will they boo him? Will they cheer him? Will this affect his mind when he goes out to play basketball? Now he's got this over his head. I mean, people are coming out of the woodwork when it comes to harassment all of a sudden, something that happened 20 or 30 years ago and so on. I am not disclaiming the fact that you shouldn't talk about it. But, geez, some of these people, I think they set themselves up. Some of them have set themselves up. They'll pretty up their 15-year-old daughter to look 18 so that they could look what happened to Louis Polonia.
Oh, brother. What a train wreck that was.
And that was a mother that set her kid up.
Man.
If I remember correctly, that was a mother that hooked her child up so she could get. This is my whole point.
Pitiful.
Everybody wants to make money. Everybody, and the only way to make money is if you know some inside trading, if you know how to scan someone or sue someone. That's the only way to make money, or invent something. And it better be something that the government doesn't want because they won't let you make any money. But all in all, going back to this, It's a tragedy for him because we don't know if he did it or not, and his basketball mindset.
Yeah.
How will his basketball mindset be in when he plays his first game next year? Did the Knicks do the right thing by getting rid of him? That way they don't have that nasty little cloud, whether he did it or not, over their heads.
Well, if you ask them, they'll tell you, yes, it was the right thing to do.
Exactly. So, you know what? Let's see what happens. Let's see how the case goes and so forth. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets for a moment because they are making the playoffs, it seems.
Well, they have another 5 games to go, and it's getting really tight in the Eastern Conference. We already know that Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, Indiana, and Toronto have made it. So there's 3 spots left. The whole Western Conference has been decided already.
Yes.
But all the drama is with places 6, 7, and 8 in the East. Right now, the Nets have the 7th spot. They got a crucial win just the other night against, I think it was the Pistons.
Right.
And right now, if you look at the rest of their schedule,
yeah, Is it a tough side schedule?
Oh, it's brutal. I mean, look at what the Nets have going for them
So
in the last 5 games of the year.
Orlando's right behind them.
Orlando's right behind them in 8th place. For the record, the Nets have a 39-38 record. And coming up is the Bucks game. They're going to be playing the Bucks any moment now.
The Milwaukee Bucks, good team. Watch out for the Bucks.
They already have
Now, remember,
the Central Division locked up, and all they have to do is win another 2 or 3 games, and then they'll have the Eastern Conference locked up, and that means home court for the entire Eastern Conference playoff race.
remember what I said to you before, which is I don't understand why more players, more grade A players don't come to the East instead of the West, because the West is such a hard egg to crack. And you have to have super players.
You know why it's a tough egg to crack? Because all of the best teams are in the West.
Exactly.
That's all the more reason why these players want to go out
And
West.
that's
Because
why
that's where all of the really good teams are.
And that's what I would avoid them like the plague. If I was a basketball player, I would avoid the Western Division like the plague, get the best team in the Eastern Division that I know that could win, and get him over, because the Western Division is a tough division to play in. Even the 8th place team can beat your first place team in the Eastern Division. That's how good the Western Division is. And before it wasn't like that. It was the Eastern Division that was the powerhouse. Those were the grittier guys that came down with the hustle and the bustle and the muscle. Now they're playing like flakes. Oh, beep! You're touching the Larry Bird. If you touch your shadow, that was it. You had a foul. I mean, for God's sakes, ladies and gentlemen, you're going crazy.
And let me correct myself. The last victory the Nets had, which by the way was this past Saturday, was against the Celtics. The Nets wound up beating the Celtics
And not
by
the
14
dangerous
points.
team.
Yeah.
That is a very dangerous. The Celtics are, because once they get going, that's it. They're done.
And
they could actually get going.
The Nets have the Bucks. And then after tonight, there's the Raptors, the Bucks again, the Pacers, and the Heat.
How many of them do they win? 2 or 3?
I think if the Nets can win the last 3 games, they'll be able to take at least one of those spots. If I'm the Nets right now, I would be much better off playing. I would take my chances playing Toronto.
Yeah.
Even in spite of the fact that Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry are an extremely dangerous 1-2 combo.
And the
Nets cannot hang with the Sixers front line whatsoever.
That was some trade that Detroit made too. Was it that was some trade? Talk about that trade.
The one from last year, you mean?
Yeah, the one from this year, because didn't they make a trade this year?
Well, we know that last year they wound up making the
they got
the Blake Griffin trade.
Which hasn't done nothing. I feel bad for Blake Griffin. I
which
really
is pretty
do feel
much
bad. But I thought Detroit did something
an
big.
afterthought for everybody.
Yeah, again, he should go to a team that could actually he can play for, because Detroit's not the team to play in. I think they'll probably trade him if he's in his last year of his contract. Now, do you want him?
It's a good question. The Bucks did make, the Pistons did make a couple of minor moves. They wound up getting the one-time Laker, Svi Mykhailiuk, who's from Kansas, and they also happened to pick up the ex-Net, Isaiah Whitehead, to help them out in the backcourt.
Isaiah Whitehead was a good player. Still is a good player, I should say.
I mean, he can give them a lot of scoring, especially from long range. And I think he can do enough off the dribble to try and create for somebody else. But he's really had his problems trying to find his shot in the pro game.
Let's say the Nets make the playoffs. How do the brackets stand?
If the playoffs were to start now,
how do the brackets
the Nets
stand?
would finish in 7th place, and they would take on the Raptors. And I'll tell you right now, I think the Nets have a much better shot against the Raptors than against either the Bucks or the Sixers. I think the Sixers will hammer them on the front line.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's suddenly vulnerable, because even though they still have Giannis Antetokounmpo and Eric Bledsoe, Malcolm Brogdon got hurt.
Yes.
which means that he's going to be out for the playoffs. So they have suddenly become very, very vulnerable on that in that backcourt.
And speaking of getting blasted, Stanton getting blasted. He's out for 10 days now.
Mm-hmm. Giancarlo Stanton.
Giancarlo Stanton's out for 10 days. Bird.
10 days to 15 days. They actually,
Did you see that welt that Bird had on his arm? Oh, jeez.
And you wonder why the fans have gotten so frustrated with Greg Bird. But
it's not his
players
fault.
get hurt.
No, it's not his fault that they're trying to pitch him inside, and he's crowding the plate.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? If you're going to crowd the plate, that's the game of baseball. As long as you're not trying to drill him in his head, you're fine.
Yep. By the way, they actually brought back the 15-day disabled list from the 10-day disabled list that they had last year. So Giancarlo Stanton is now on the 15-day disabled list, and they brought back Clint Frazier. Speaking of the Yankees, they're playing right now against the Tigers, and the Yankees have a 2-0 lead in the third inning. And the Mets, who took 2 out of 3 from D.C. over the weekend, they're playing the Marlins in South Florida, and the Marlins have a 2-1 lead in the second inning.
And they signed Jacob deGrom for a long-term contract. Now let's see if they do it with Syndergaard too.
Yeah, that's.
Let's see if they're smart enough to do it with all them young guys that they still have for at least a 3 or 4 year period.
And Syndergaard was the one that championed for deGrom to get that contract extension.
And
is he going to say the same thing about himself?
Of course. Yeah, of course he's going to, him and whoever his manager is. If it's Scott Boras and you're in trouble. But there's still, there's still 2 major pitchers out there that haven't gotten picked
Dallas
up?
Keuchel. He still doesn't have a job right now, and neither does Craig Kimbrell, who's a closer.
New York Yankees, please, Mets, do something. I mean, what do these guys want? A 7-year deal or a 10-year deal? Is that what's going on?
I doubt the Yankees. Well, length is one thing. It's cash that they're looking for. They want too much money. And as far as the Yankees are concerned, they already signed Gio Gonzalez during spring training. So they've got 6 guys to account for in that starting rotation. And, of course, Luis Severino is on the disabled list right now. So the rotation that they're going with is Tanaka, Sabathia, James Paxton, who unfortunately lost his debut, Gio Gonzalez, and also Jay Happ, who also lost his first start as a Yankee going back to last year.
You know, it's going to happen. You better start winning your games now, though, because before they used to say, oh, it's only the beginning. You don't need to win those games. No, yes, you do. You need to win every damn game you can because it's going to bite you in the rear end if you don't when it comes to playoff time and so forth, because then you're going to be kicking your rear end going, we should have won those games in the past.
Teams saying, well, it's too early. Yes, we understand it's too early. It's April Fool's Day. It's the first Monday of the regular season.
Yes.
By the same token, if these teams are serious in wanting to make any kind of noise this year, they have to gobble up as many victories as they can. We know it's a long season, but nothing ever can be taken for granted.
Exactly.
See what the Yankees did against the Orioles over the weekend. The Orioles, who have had the Yankees' number for the past 2 years, wound up taking 2 out of 3 in the Bronx over the weekend.
What a way to start the opener, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You always want to win your first game there, and then whatever happens, happens. But you know what? Again, it's a long season. As long as they win little by little, everything's fine.
I'm just glad that baseball is back.
Baseball's back. Basketball's ending soon.
Yep.
Hockey's ending in the middle of July, I think.
June, actually.
June.
By the way,
so
the
wait a
Islanders
minute.
wound up clinching a playoff spot.
Yeah, I was going to
over
ask
the
you about
weekend.
that, but I want to ask you, after the hockey, what's left? We have the American Football Alliance.
The Alliance of American Football if I'm not mistaken, ends
baseball.
around June or so. And then, of course, baseball continues. And
That's
also
the only
there's,
sport that's out there
there's
except for
also the
soccer.
WNBA season
Oh, and soccer.
and Major
And
League Soccer.
Major League Soccer. Don't forget them, ladies and gentlemen, because we got to root for the Red Bulls and New York Cosmos.
Speaking of the WNBA, from what I can gather, the Liberty may have found a new home to play their home games this season.
Oh, I wish they could have played in the Garden, but
I
they
wish
don't
they could have
bring,
played in the Garden,
they
too.
don't bring in enough people. That's the problem.
So now they're going to give the Barclays Center a try for the summer.
Fill that team up. You know, they had the supposedly first woman that dunked on YouTube, and I'm damn well sure that she's not the first woman. That's the first woman they caught on TV dunking. But I'm sure there's enough damn women out there that are tall enough to be able to dunk.
Obviously.
Okay? But again, we digress and progress. And eventually there'll be a female baseball team.
There was at one time the Colorado Silver Bullets.
Yeah,
but that was
Phil
over 30
Necro.
years ago.
Phil Necro was the team, but but they played against the guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they play well, but again, apples and oranges.
Yeah.
You know, you want to call me a little sexist, great. Call me what you want, do what you will, but you do you, I do me, separated together, and we all will have one big happy family. If you want to have a joint thing, then you know what? Then let's have one of like the softball leagues,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where you need 2 girls or 3 girls on the team and 2 boys on the team to have to really do the game. But that's it. And now the as you said, the Islanders clinch.
The Islanders clinched the playoff spot.
The fans are happier than hell
Mm-hmm.
because it's been such a long time since the Islanders done anything since
Yep.
the 80s.
4th time in the last 7 years that the Islanders have clinched a playoff spot. So with about 4 games left in the season, the Islanders still have a slim chance at winning the Metropolitan Division from the defending champion Capitals. And if not, then my guess would be that they would fall down to, I think, 4th or 5th place in the Eastern Conference. Right now it's Tampa, who, by the way, won the President's Trophy. There's the Bruins, there's the Capitals, then the Islanders. So the Islanders would be in 4th place now. Then there would be the Maple Leafs, followed by the Penguins. And then there's the Blue Jackets and the Hurricanes, who would make up the teams that would make the playoffs if the season were to end now.
I'm showing him something.
Oh, that looks really cool. Colin Kaepernick playing a game of football with Saquon Barkley, and Offset from the group Migos.
So, like I said, there's a man.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever your thoughts are, like I said, like they used to say, government is government, religion is religion, religion don't mess with government, government don't mess with religion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you don't have religion in school, because you can't mess with one or the other. That's it. Now, should they? That's a whole different story. But for now, look at this.
Speaking of the Islanders,
Speaking of
they're
them,
hosting the Maple Leafs right now, and they're scoreless after 1. The Rangers and Devils, unfortunately, both of whom are playing out the string, they're playing each other in Newark right now, and the Devils lead 2-1 after 1.
let me ask you. Now, let's say right now, the games was over. Who do the Islanders play in the playoffs right now?
If the season ended today, I think the Islanders would play either the Maple Leafs or the Penguins. And I would much rather see the Islanders play the Maple Leafs right now for one reason, because the Maple Leafs have the ex-Islander John Tavares. And you know that the Isles are going to want to get their revenge against him in a playoff series. That would be the sweetest revenge for them.
Does this make a difference to you?
Yeah, Nasir Little, who's the point guard for North Carolina, he's going to enter the draft, and he's already going to sign with an agent. So
is that a
official.
big deal? But is that a big deal?
I think it's a big deal. I think he's going to.
And is this a big deal too?
NBA teams most likely to end the Warriors' run. To be quite honest with you, I don't think the only team that can end the Warriors' run
It's not the
is the Warriors.
You know, well, they got the Utah Jazz as honorable mention.
No.
The Oklahoma City Thunder.
No.
The Denver Nuggets. Philadelphia 76ers.
The Sixers maybe, because the Sixers have the front line to counter with the Warriors.
Okay. Houston Rockets. No defense. A lot of offense.
Last year, yes. This year, no.
Okay.
And the Rockets were really close to ending that.
Boston
that streak.
Celtics.
If they're 100% healthy, then yes, they would be able to give the Warriors a run.
They're at number 3. At number 2, we have the Milwaukee Bucks.
Probably because Giannis Antetokounmpo can really outclass them on the front line. Although, when you think about it, Kevin Durant, I think, would be a really good matchup for him defensively because of his wingspan.
And, you know, I think you're right.
Not only that, you have to consider Malcolm Brogdon is hurt, so he's not going to be able to play in the playoffs.
I think
that's a big loss for the Bucks.
I think you're right about the Golden State Warriors can only destroy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But the number 1 team that they have here is the Toronto Raptors.
Probably because Kawhi Leonard can do enough creativity for them, both off the dribble and on the wing. And also, he can really D up against their best guys. So, yeah, I think they would be. I think they'd be able to give them 2 games.
Do you believe in that order, the honorable mentions and all that, out of them guys?
The Nuggets, I'm really iffy about. I don't think the Nuggets can hang with the Warriors, to be honest with you, because I just don't feel that the Nuggets have enough depth after Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray to try and hang with the Warriors.
So do you go, Warriors, come out and play?
You know, that's where the Warriors chant came from. That's where the Warriors chant came from, was from that movie.
Yeah, and LeBron James is actually doing Space Jams too.
Yeah,
okay.
it's official.
Yeah. You know, anyway.
Although I should interject and say that I really did like the original Space Jam.
The original was
Jordan.
great because they got punched in the balls and everything, and now you can't even show that. Except unless you're watching Itchy and Scratchy, and that's The Simpsons. But you know that's something else. Yosemite Sam playing and all them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I hope it's just as fun as the first one.
We'll see.
Sure
let's see what
Michael-
other superstars join LeBron in this one, because if you remember, Michael Jordan had Patrick and Sean Bradley and Muggsy Bogues and Larry Johnson.
And
among others.
Wasn't it Barkley in there?
I think Charles Barkley
Charles
was in there,
Barkley
yeah.
was in there too. And those were the monsters. And now, I'm just going. I have to shake my head on this because it's kind of ridiculous in some aspects. But you know, okay, because I'm just reading this just for fun, just to see what's out there in the land. And who do you vote for? Giannis or Harden for MVP?
To be quite honest with you, I
professional
would
way
cast
to
a vote
know.
for Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is dynamic. I mean, he scores from long range. He has an inside game that overwhelms everybody. Phenomenal defensive player. And he has single-handedly raised the profile of the Milwaukee Bucks franchise by himself.
But that's the point of an MVP. Most valuable player means that one person helped you get over the hump.
He's made the Bucks.
Has James Harden done that?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, but he's made the Bucks, like you said. Go ahead, continue.
Giannis Antetokounmpo has turned the Bucks from mediocre to just okay to great. And I see John Calipari has signed a brand new contract with the University of Kentucky. Not just for 5 or 10 years. This is a lifetime contract, which means he could retire now and still be a Kentucky Wildcat for life.
You know, what do you think of that?
Well, to be honest with you, he's
Has
done.
he done enough? Because
He's done a lot for that.
he's
done a lot for that school. He's won a couple of national titles. He's taken them to countless NCAA tournaments and won countless Southeastern Conference championships.
Did he take over Rick Pitino?
Yes, he did take over for Rick Pitino.
And we know how that happened.
Actually, when Rick Pitino left,
he left on bad terms.
Yeah, he left on really bad terms. And then after that, Billy Gillispie took over for Kentucky.
Billy Gillispie? Son of
you know what?
Dizzy
Even
Gillespie?
further back, Pitino left 1997, and then there was Tubby Smith. Tubby Smith came in, coached for 10 years, won a title, and then he left, although he was kind of forced to leave by the administration. And then Billy Gillispie took over, had 3 putrid years with that school. It was so bad that they actually had to play in the NIT. And then after Gillespie got fired was when John Calipari was hired from Memphis. This I've heard about too. Drew Lock, who's the quarterback at Missouri, he's going to be paying visits to both the Giants and the Redskins.
Who do you think he should go to?
Who do you think he should go to?
Yes. Who needs him more?
Honestly, the Giants need him more than the Redskins do because the Redskins have a little bit of insurance for Alex
Eli
Smith because he wound up breaking his leg. Now the Redskins have, I think, it's either Brooks Bollinger or Brooks or someone else that they might have gotten. But to be honest with you, I would much rather see him. I'd much rather see him on the Giants because, quite frankly, they need a quarterback in the worst way. As much as they love and respect Eli, he's not getting any younger.
Eventually, you got to move on, but you're not Tom Brady.
Not even
Tom Brady. I mean, for the love of God, eventually this man's going to have to retire soon. But like I said, age is only a number. If you keep your body healthy, that's all that matters.
Although, to be quite honest with you, I'd much rather see the Giants get Kyler Murray because I think Kyler Murray is better than the other guys.
But again, that's all we got to do, and hope for the best and expect the worst because we don't know what the draft holds for us. We do not know what holds and where the balls go. Hey, Pat, how you doing? All right. So here we go again. Where do the balls go?
Your guess is as good
as mine. The balls will go to the New York Knicks, and the balls will go to the Jets and Giants, and hopefully every ball will land in the right place, like where you put it in the woman. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen.
And for the record, it's Case Keenum that the Redskins wound up signing.
We have to leave, say goodbye. So adieu, my friend. Thank you very much for having me once again. I'll see you soon, and we'll do this all over again.
Yep. 41 seconds left. We failed to mention that the Final Four in the NCAA tournament is all set. It's Virginia facing Auburn, and Texas Tech facing Michigan State.
Exactly.
In the Final Four that'll be in Minneapolis this coming Saturday.
So, say goodbye.
For everyone here, I'm Jaime.
I'm Hector.
Thank you for joining us. Thanks to Kenny on the other side of the glass, and thanks to you for watching. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Play ball.